I hope you enjoyed your lunch. And I guess some of you might be feeling quite tired, right? But this is our last session for this forum, so which means that your attention is especially important. So we have to stay focused until the end. So to wake ourselves up, and I'd like to open this chapter with some energy together. So when I say, let's begin our fourth session, and then you will give a big round of applause to our moderator and panelists. Okay? Ready?
네, 이번 세션 굉장히 중요한 또 마지막 세션입니다. 그런데 오후 세션이라서 좀 졸리실 수도 있을 것 같은데요. 제가 영어로 네 번째 세션 시작하겠습니다라고 외치면 여러분들께서는 그 어느 때보다도 큰 박수로 함께 오후 세션을 같이 열도록 하겠습니다. 네, 그럼 시작하겠습니다. Ready? Okay. Let's begin our afternoon session. Thank you very much. And the theme of our session is utilizing community-based collaborative networks for DRR. So please allow me to introduce our moderator, Mr. Jibum Chung, Associate Professor, Department of Civil, Urban Earth and Environmental Engineering, Ulsan National Institute of Science and Technology. 저는 그럼 오늘 좌장님께 마이크를 넘기도록 하겠습니다.
네, 감사합니다. Good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Session 5. The title of Session 5 is Utilizing Community-Based Collaborative Networks for Disaster Risk Reduction. My name is Ji-Bum Chung from Ulsan National Institute of Science and Technology. In this session, we will explore how community cooperation networks play a vital role in disaster risk reduction and building urban resilience. We will also discuss practical approaches to ensure sustainability, build trust, and strengthen local capacity. Let me now introduce our distinguished speakers. First, Mr. Dong-in Park from Korean Red Cross. Okay. And the second, the Ji-Yeong from the Korea Voluntary Center. And Dr. Wansoo Im, the professor from the Meharry Medical College. And Mr. Johnny Ruangmei from Nagaland State Disaster Management Authority from India. Finally, we have the Liza Silerio, Vice President of the SM Prime Holdings. Okay, we have the valuable speakers from the civil society and the private companies and the government officers. So we are starting from the first speaker, Mr. Dong-in Park. He will share his experience in the Korean disaster management cases. Thank you.
Distinguished delegates, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great privilege to address you here today. My name is Dong-in Park, and I serve as a relief officer at the Korean Red Cross Gyeongbuk chapter. It is a great honor to stand before you today. And as this is my first opportunity to present in such an international setting, I kindly ask for your understanding, and I will do my utmost to share meaningful insight based on my experience. The subject of my presentation is case study on the disaster response network between the Korean Red Cross government agency during the 2025 mega wildfire in Gyeongbuk, Republic of Korea. This is structured as three online. First, Red Cross Government Disaster Response Network. Second, case study 2025 Gyeongbuk mega wildfire. Third, post-disaster cooperation with government agency. Next, disaster response system Korean Red Cross government agency. 네. The Korean Red Cross as a disaster relief organization undertake a variety of humanitarian relief activities, in close cooperation with government authorities. 1. Relief disaster victim, providing immediate support to those affected. 2. Emergency communication network, ensuring rapid coordination among disaster response agencies. 3. Disaster risk reduction and prevention, minimizing potential disaster impact through proactive measures. 4. Psychological support, offering mental health and emotional assistance to affected individuals. In addition, we carry out disaster fundraising activities supporting our ongoing relief effort. Recent operations include response to the Pohang earthquake, Taepung Hinnamno, and heavy rainfall across Gyeongbuk province, as shown in the accompanying photo. Next, I would like to discuss the case of the disaster response network established for the wildfire in Gyeongbuk province. First, let me give you an overview of Gyeongbuk province. It is the largest province in South Korea, with a population of 2.53 million and 22 cities and counties. The provincial government is located in Andong, and next month the APEC meeting will be held in Gyeongju, Gyeongbuk province. The large-scale wildfire in Gyeongbuk province occurred on March 22 and 2025 in Ampyeongmyeon area of Ulsan County. On that day, 3 separated fires broken out in Ulsan, 2 of which spread further. The fires were finally extinguished 6 days later on March 28. The disaster caused significant human causal loss and affected near 10,000 hectares, making it one of the worst wildfires in South Korea history. As a personal note, due to strong wind, the fire spread to within 5 kilometers of my workplace, and evacuation orders were issued. I would like to outline the process of disaster response cooperation between the Korean Red Cross Gyeongbuk chapter and relevant government agency. First, at the outbreak of the fire, the situation was assessed with Red Cross volunteer and relevant government agency. Second, as the fire spread, requests were made to government agency for relief supplies and special vehicles. Third, in the initial response phase, the Korean Red Cross recruit volunteer and provide special vehicle and relief supplies. First, in the full-scale response, evacuation shelters for disaster victims were established. Meal service were operated, special vehicles were deployed, and psychological support. Activities were carried out as a result of the above measure. During the large-scale wildfire, the Korean Red Cross successfully delivered relief supply to 5 cities and counties. During the 26 days wildfire response, Gyeongbuk province, the Red Cross provided 50,000 relief item and mobilize special vehicle, deliver meal support, 80,000 residents, and recover worker across 5 cities and counties. Addition service include laundry, shower, specialists, and psychological support. Third, post-disaster coordination with government agency. I will discuss the collaboration effort undertaken in the aftermath of the wildfire. One, relief funds are allocated in coordination with government agency. Two, donated goods are distributed to displaced residents. Three, psychological support is continuously provided to affected. Thus, essential goods, the financial assistance are still being delivered to residents infected by the wildfire. As a designated disaster management authority, the Korean Red Cross, in collaboration with the government agency, effectively deliver relief operation during the large-scale wildfire in Gyeongbuk province. Sustain and reinforce this cooperation network remain essential to ensuring preparedness and effective response to future disaster. This concluded my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Park, for your insightful presentation. Next, we will have Ms. Ji-Yeong Lim from the Korea Volunteer Center. She will share her experience of the public-private partnership model for community resilience.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ji-Yeong Lim, team lead of the Disaster Cooperation Team at the Korea Central Volunteer Center. The United Nations has emphasized the role of volunteering in achieving the Sustainable Development Goal and has designated year 2026 as the International Year of Volunteers. In Korea, a recent survey of about 4,000 citizens showed that the top priority issue is disaster prevention and response. This reflects how important disasters are in our society and how active citizens are in volunteering. Today, I will share Korea's experience, especially the Integrated Volunteering Support Group for Disaster Site, which we call IVSG. IVSG is based on the local ordinances. Since 2020, the Framework Act on the Management of Disaster and Safety has provided a legal basis for its operation. It brings together both the public and private sectors. On the public side, disaster response headquarters, fire service, police, and medical institution. On the private side, volunteer center, NGOs, companies, and civic groups. Local governments provide administrative and financial support, as well as official disaster information. Volunteer Center served as the coordination platform for civic participation. So, IVSG supports the whole process from response to recovery through public and private cooperation. The core of IVSG is Volunteer Center Network. The Korea Central Volunteer Center was established in 2010 and now coordinates 246 centers nationwide. 17 metropolitan and provincial centers, and 228 city and county centers. In normal time, these centers provide training, education, building trust and collaborations. When disasters occur, they connect resources, coordinate activities, and support long-term recovery. This happens in close partnership with local governments and national authorities. Collaborations extend not only within communities, but also across regions, from local to provincial to nation level. Let me share a recent example. As you heard earlier from Kim Dong-in, in March 2025, large wildfires broke out in the Yeongnam region in North and South Gyeongsang provinces. This region has both rural and urban communities, so each community required a tailored approach. IVSG established in each affected municipality. More than 15,000 volunteers joined the recovery effort. They supported evacuation shelters, provided meals and laundry service, delivered supplies, and repaired homes and farms. The Central IVS secured an emergency fund of 500 million Korea won from the Community Chest of Korea. With this, we launched the Reconnecting Village project. Activity included setting up community facilities in temporary housing sites, organizing village gatherings, and sending trucks with essential food goods to remote areas. Volunteers also installed nameplates and mailboxes at temporary homes and planted small gardens to have residents feel settled. The key feature was a matching system linked unaffected region with affected village. This created solidarity and tailored recovery to each village needs. Most inspiring was the people who had once been disaster victims themselves came forward to help new victims. This solidarity was made possible through IVSG. This case highlights three principles to Korea disaster volunteering. First, dignity. Respecting the dignity and agency of victims or vulnerable groups. Second, daily life recovery, helping residents return to ordinary daily life. Third, collective recovery, not helping others, but recovering together as a community. All of these are rooted in care and empathy for people, communities. Key success factor of IVSG. IVSG has success because of four main factors. First, legal basis, giving clear responsibility and authority. Institutionalization, not temporary, but a permanent system. Three, trust. Collaboration in normal times enables effective crisis response. Four, bridge laws, connecting governments and civic society, mobilizing external resources, and strengthen solidarity and relationship. Together, these factors make IVSG a foundation for resilience. Of course, institutional and financial improvements are still needed, but IVSG has already become an essential foundation for disaster recovery in Korea. It's a bridge between government and citizen. It connects external resources and strengthens solidarity and resilience within communities. Finally, disaster recovery is not only the rebuilding houses, it's about rebuilding communities and relationships. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your valuable information. And we have our third speaker. Our third speaker is Dr. Wansoo Im, and he is a professor at Meharry Medical College in the United States. He will present on digital engagement and collaborative networks for disaster resilience.
Hi, can you hear me well? Okay, hi, thank you. So my name is Wansoo Im. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. So today's my topic will be local data for global resiliency, the role of community participatory mapping in disaster. So this is a map that I like. It's a US map. The color shows the life expectancy. Based on where you live, your life expectancy differs for almost 20 years, sometimes 30 years. The reason is because what kind of air you are breathing, what kind of water, stress, crime rate, but most importantly, like the disaster and then, climate change too. So the main research that I do, and this is the thing that I teach to medical students, is the so-called public health exposure. So public health exposure is basically we try to look at the social determinant of health and physical, and then health and environmental and stress, or how all this kind of data affects a person's health, right? But also how it affects the genetic, how our gene behaviors. So I have about the 80,000 variable of all the data. So my role is try to really keep updating, like this kind of data source and how this data, right, affects the health outcome, especially in the health equity. So community mapping is actually defined by me, like it's using mapping technology to identify, understand, analyze, resolve, disseminate community issue with the intention of education, engagement, and then empowerment. So how many people went to New York? The most typical things when you go to New York is finding bathroom. It's not like the Seoul, If you are in Korea, it's really easy to find a bathroom, right? But in New York, it's not that easy. So I used to live in Princeton, New Jersey, and then when I went to New York with my daughters during the Christmas break, we couldn't find a bathroom. There's a long line. And I said, there gotta be still bathroom available for the public, right? So what I did was in 2005, which is 20 years ago, I actually mapped the New York bathroom, right? So I'm the guy who mapped all the New York restroom in 20 years ago. So, the 2005 is the year that Google began to serve their Google map, right? So we are able to use the map and, we can develop an app. And also 2007 is when iPhone began to do the service, and Samsung Galaxy was 2010 or 2009. So what that means is you can use a mapping to provide the information, but also people in the community, they can collect the data, community data, and then they can share information together, right? Without really significant resource or technical expertise. So before I joined the Meharry, I was teaching at the Rutgers University, that's the State University of New Jersey. So this is a project that I did with my students. It's an app that I developed. It's called the Mappler. It's being used federal and state, like a government and then some other agencies. So basically, you can use a smartphone and then collect lots of the neighborhood data. So this is the information we collect. So for campus, like female students, they may feel different way about the safety, right? This place is dark, I don't know why, but I feel like dangerous and all those things. So we map, and then we find out really interesting thing, because we also measure the brightness, how dark it is, how bright it is. But there is this, street light pole. So if there is a street light pole, and then the students, they feel like not safe. You know why? Just because there's a light pole doesn't mean that it's working. It may be covered by a tree, or it may be broken, it may be covered by something else too, right? So we rely on the publicly available data or government data, but that doesn't mean that it's working, Like in Korea, we recently have a flood issues in Korea, right? And then a lot of people are talking about the this like disaster and emergency. Do you know like almost 50% of drainage system is not working? You know why? Because it's blocked by the garbage or cigarette butt, right? But there's a drainage, right? So based on statistic and data, it's supposed to work. However, it's not. So we find out that just because there's a data, unless it's updated, right, like regularly, right, it doesn't really show the big picture. So what I did was during the weekend, I worked with the Latino students, like Hispanic students in the local area. So that's me. Can you find me? Like I'm on the guy from the right-hand side. And these are the high school students who are Hispanic, like they recently migrated. So what we did was we mapped all the safe route to school, like condition of the sidewalk. So all this data can be was done for actually 2 hours, because everybody has a smartphone. They can go out, they can update where the sidewalk is broken, traffic light is working, and all those. So from this process, students can learn how to identify issues, how to enter data, and once data is collected, how to understand and what can be done, right? So when I say education and engagement and empowerment, this is what students are learning. They basically do something, they update the data, and then city, right? City is fixing, and then they realize it, wow, if I do something, right? There is a changes, right? I can really, it's an empowerment. I can really make a changes. But also data, once it is collected, government can use this one to set the priority, use it for the budget purpose and all those. So I use this term called the efficiency and equity, and then also effectiveness too. So I was working with this group, but during the 2012, we had a huge Hurricane Sandy. I don't know how many people remember in 2012 in New York and New Jersey we have a Hurricane Sandy, and my daughters were actually at the time it was in college, and then that was the hurricane that once every 300 years that it could happen. So it was pretty severe. This is near my house, right? And then this was Staten Island. So there was fires and all those. The damage, it was about $70 billion. That's a lot of money, right? $70 billion, right? So, but what happened was the electricity was gone. It was late October. Road got closed and all those. So people couldn't find the gas, because gasoline is not delivered. They cannot pump and all those. So it was really chaos. So the number one keyword in Google was how to find the gas, right? So you know what I did with those Latino students, Hispanic students? What we did was we get together in my office, right? And then we update the data, because everybody knows where the gas station is. However, nobody knows whether it was open, when it's going to open, and all those information. Do you see pizza box on the upper right corner, right? You know that pizza box was actually provided by a White House. Back then, it was the Obama, administration. Yeah, but we got lots of support, from the, the federal government, from the White House, and then this guy is a mayor, right? They find out what we are doing, and then they've been supporting us for 2 weeks. So we were actually fit. So it was used. We have this app. It's being updated, and then Federal Emergency Management, FEMA, the agency was using our data. Even Google was using the data that was collected by the high school students, right? You know that we had about 1 million visitors per day, right? And so even the Department of Energy has an emergency call center. Look at the map behind. They were using map that was created by the high school students, right? And then also, because of interoperability, they were able to update data. So we started with the 50 high school students. But later, we have about 1,500 people throughout the social media, and they update information from where they are. Because all they have to do is what? Make a telephone call, right? Make sure that whether they sell the gas, or when the gas is coming, and all those information, right? So the way I see it, when disaster happen, as long as you have some trained people and then some people who are willing to, it doesn't really matter where they are, right? As long as they have an internet access or telephone, right? Access. So people used to call me as a bathroom guy, but after this, they call me gas guy. So I was kind of known. This case was actually known in South Korean, the media too in 2012. So it was in the WMBC and then a lot of different media. So I was working with this group, and then you can see how things started with the local high school students, right, can actually make an impact at the country level, and then lots of different disasters. And so this is the energy.gov site. They kind of say, how much they appreciate and how much we help. And then because of this, actually, I was invited to visit the White House at that time too. So Google did a presentation during their international conference. They said the Mapler, that the bottom one, is the tool that I developed for this community mapping. Is the most efficient, the kind of tool for the community engagement in disaster kind of management. So I present this case actually at the Sendai. I went to the Sendai to present this case, and then also at the Istanbul and then New York. And after Hurricane Sandy, we have to look at the actually damage and recovery assessment. So with my students, because a lot of people, the property owner they were not aware of whether they're eligible for the insurance or not. So we actually went there and then do the damage assessment, and then we were able to let the owner know that they're eligible for the insurance. 2020, so I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, initially for the School of the Family Medicine, and then I'm doing same research that the public health exposure and community participatory research. So we had a really big tornado. So we had about 24 people pass away and got killed. That this is where my neighborhood. But somebody has to really assess the damage. So with the same tool, with a volunteer, with a smartphone, we are able to get this data, all the property damage, for the destroyed and major damage, minor damage, and affected damage, right? Really, all they have to do is a smartphone and then walk through the neighborhood, right? And then look at the property and then just update the data. And then, but the thing that we are interested in is the post-assessment. We were interested in how the recovery process, right, was done. But another thing is this neighborhood is really, really dangerous. That neighborhood has the most number of incarcerated people per population, which means the most number of people who are in jail, right? So it's pretty dangerous, so people don't want to go there, right? So you know what I figured it out? The Google map has a street view, right? Street photo. You know that they have Google Street View of the data sometimes several times a year, or at least once a year. So we are able to look at that 2019, 2021, 2023, the photo. So we are able to assess what's happening for that property just looking at the Google photo, right? Google Street View. And also try to link with the city property tax data and then other data. So we are able to actually assess what's happening, right? For those damage the property. Some of the property was renovated, vacant, and all those. Because one of my main research is health equity and then social justice. So I'm looking at how this recovery process is done by different neighborhood or different income and then different information. But one thing that I do right now is we are developing AI to assess this process automatically, right? So instead that the people are looking at the data manually, we can kind of use the AI help that we can assess this damage and then create a map relatively quickly. This is the project that I got like funding from NIH for the Zika mapping. Zika virus is the virus that make the babies like is undeveloped like the brain. So we got the funding, and then this is the portal that I created. But I was working with a local community group, like the middle school kid, map all the mosquito breeding site, because the main the vector the carrier for the Zika virus is the mosquito, right? So the best way to resolve the issue is to make sure there is no mosquito, right? So we mapped all the mosquito breeding site, and then we create on the map. And then one of the students said, wow, we could stop to make sure that the breeding of mosquitoes and Zika virus doesn't spread. And then last sentence, it helped me believe what I could do in the future to prevent that, right? So it really, they learn from this process, and then they got empowered. So like after today's mapping event, students said they learned a lot, and they learned a little. And then so as you can see, community mapping can be applied in various stages of the disaster, like the plan, like preparedness, and the response, like management and recovery process, and the mitigation, like the phase. So this is like my last the slide. So community participatory mapping and local data in disaster management, it provides diverse perspective because all the local people are contributing, and then they can add from their perspective, right? And it is highly accurate, and then also local relevance, and then enhanced trust and participation. Sometimes when you collect data, when you make a decision making, your community people, or your local people are left over, right? However, by engaging them, you can get more accurate, more responsible way of getting data. And then you can identify more unique local issues, and then you can validate the data. Right? I didn't just rely on the publicly available data, and error reduction, and sustainable data collection and monitoring. Once community people and people are involved in, right? They are always willing to work for this kind of the situation. And the next one is the one that I like facilitating their co-ownership. So it's like the co-production and ownership. So citizen or community people can collect the data, what government, what other community need, and then they can help. But it's not just their community. If something is happening, in Nepal, right, or other area, right, as long as they are connected, they can actually help, right? Because they can just fly over the drone or airplane. You have lots of the aerial photograph, and then people can update data and add the information. Those information can be used for the training AI too, to the process complicated information that the decision maker and those field people can actually use it. We recently got the funding from NASA, to do this kind of process for the community participatory approach. Whenever there is a disaster, the drone can go over, and the community can participate and then collect the data too. And then also, things that I want to add is the co-production, co-ownership, but I want to add two words. One is the co-creation, right? It's not just collecting data and contributing data, but they can come up with lots of different ideas, right? And then I want to call that as a co-creation. And then some of those ideas is something, right, we didn't even think about it, but that they can really be a really game changer, like the idea. And then co-benefit is one of the things that recently a lot of people are talking. It's not just the provider side, but when we do this, it's not just benefiting, educating, or engagement, but it's actually helping more the different way. There's a huge different other side of the benefit. So last sentence, empowering community with data literacy to act quickly and effectively during the disaster. So thank you, and that's my contact. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Im, for your valuable insight and interesting stories. Following that, Mr. Johnny Ruangmei, Joint Chief Executive Officer of the Nagaland State Disaster Management Authority in India. He will discuss collaborative practices in the Indian context.
My presentation. Yeah. Thank you, Chair. Very good afternoon. Thank you, our friend Sanjay and the UNDRR for having me from Nagaland. This is a post-lunch, so I would like to start something with funny to keep us awake. There were 3 persons who died, and they went to heaven. One of the person is a doctor. Another person was an engineer. And the third person was a politician. I think here in this room, we are all mix of different professions. So at the gate of the heaven, Saint Peter came and told the 3 of them that there is only one seat in heaven. Whoever belongs to the oldest profession will go to heaven, and 2 of you will go back to the earth. So the doctor, maybe a speaker before me was a doctor, I think. So the doctor says, you know, making human life is the first profession. Maybe I should go to heaven. Then the engineer says, no. Before life came, there was a disaster. All chaos. And then the politician says, by the way, who created that disaster? So the politician went to heaven. So you all know, if you want to go to heaven, please choose the profession rightly. Nagaland is a small state in the northeastern part of India, bordering Myanmar and close to China. Many people say that I am from Philippines, but I'm not from Philippines, I am from India, in the northeastern part of India. Nagaland is not a very rich, resourceful state, but we have a very, very strong social capital, which is one of the most essential pillars for building disaster resilience. So I will be speaking to you the story about how Nagaland harness social capital. And I will be proposing that maybe perhaps a forum like this should also think about building a policies on enhancing social capital of the community in the world, so that we would be able to come back better, bigger, and bolder after any disaster. How Nagaland blends our traditional community structures, and how do we integrate the modern concept of DRR? The Nagaland State Disaster Management Authority, which is the government agency, blends with the old tradition conventional institution called Village Development Board. Now this Village Development Board is again governed by a village council, which is the lowest strategy of the government structure in the village, in the community. How it works? So we, instead of building a different parallel agency for disaster management, we blend this Village Development Board with Village Disaster Management Authority, who will be taking the needs of the community before, during, and after a disaster. So And Inclusiveness Village Council and Village Development Board are the traditional bodies, and we legitimize them by building these bodies into a disaster management agencies at the grassroots level. Now, the practice that we have is the community-based disaster risk management. This framework, what we do, we actualize at the ground level. We have the village development board bodies as an authority, and we also have a community first responder concept among the youth, involving the youth. And this is the team composition of the community first responder. And some of the pictures of the volunteers. So now, how this method work? During the COVID-19 pandemic, this village council, they were enforced in order to take upon the responsibility of ensuring a proper systems of management of lockdown. Then we also have the village disaster management team, or in the women group, we call it self-help group, who were transformed into task forces for contact tracing, awareness spreading, and also managing the exit and entry point of the village. And also the youths and the volunteers, women especially, women society, took the lead in the distribution of essential commodities and running community kitchens, especially during the quarantine period. So Nagaland resilient social infrastructure is a very effective way of building resilience beyond any natural disaster. We have a story to tell, and our Sanjay, our friend sir, had just came back from Nagaland. He was there for our capacity building program during the month of July, and you are most welcome to Nagaland. We will love to host you. Maybe perhaps I would propose some of this kind of event we will be very happy to host if the UN DRR permits us. Thank you so very much and happy to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Ruangmei, for your excellent presentation and insight. Finally, we will hear from Ms. Liza Silerio, Vice President of SM Supermalls, representing ARISE Philippines, who will speak on private sector engagement in disaster risk reduction.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Liza Silerio from the private sector, SM Prime Holdings Philippines, a leading integrated real estate property developer in Southeast Asia. Thank you for this opportunity to share how community-based collaboration from the works of the private sector. Today, I speak as co-chair of ARISE Philippines Network, the private sector alliance for disaster resilient societies. Who is ARISE? ARISE is a network of private sector companies committed to DRR. Guided by the UN DRR Geneva, we support the Sendai framework, aligned with the UN SDGs, Paris Agreement, making cities resilient, and new urban agenda. ARISE global networks are present in 66 countries with over 635 members across the world. For ARISE Philippines Network to date has 180 private sector members, and these companies promote community-based DRR resilience programs, among others. In the Philippines, for context, wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Oh, sorry. So in the Philippines, for context, disaster resilience is under the Office of Civil Defense, the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, a multi-stakeholder body with 45 members representing national agencies, local governments, and the civil society. They work under prevention and mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery, the four thematic areas where the structure is a whole of society approach that creates a space for the private sector to support government actions through innovation, investments, and on-the-ground engagements. In the Philippines, the micro, small, and medium enterprises are vital to our economy and consist over 99% of all our business establishments. Arise members are having their community-based initiatives through their business continuity plans, workshops for the SMEs. They extend remote data storage for critical documents in partnerships with the Department of Trade and Industry. We operate and set up calamity recovery programs for MSMEs inquiry and assistance to quickly restart operations during and after disasters. I adopt the e-learning solutions to equip Filipinos with the right set of tools, skills, and resources that they need to force any type of disasters. We have one member who extend a micro disaster risk insurance product, especially for MSMEs. These are some initiatives for the private sector to ensure that MSMEs can recover their business quickly. Urban areas are huge in the Philippines, and they are centers of commerce, education, trade, and government. And with their rapid growth comes heightened risk, particularly for poor families living in high-risk, informal settlements. Arise Philippines member, such as the National Resilience Council, leads the Urban Risk Resilience Work Team, partnering with government, businesses, academia, and the civil society to develop programs and influence policies with local government units. A very good example of this program is the Adapt a City, a catalytic funding mechanism that enables the private sector companies to invest in science-based resilience planning and decision support systems. The proof of concept is the institutionalizing of the Resilience Council in major cities. We have created resilience awards under the Climate Change Commission, and there are women and youth awards as well. The NRC have 12 cities and provinces enrolled in this program, and these were adopted by top private sector companies in the Philippines together with local government units. NRC utilizes resilience scorecards customized for local context while aligned with international frameworks to help LGUs and communities track and strengthen their resilience. Another good program from a RISE member is the Build Change. They work with microfinance institutions to scale a resilient home lending product that have expanded financial access for low and middle income households for retrofitting of houses to withstand typhoons and earthquakes. From citywide partnerships, we extend it down to the barangays, the smallest government units in the Philippines, where risks are high and solutions are co-created and locally owned. Programs are intended to strengthen the frontline communities through simulation exercises, evacuation planning, use of early warning systems, mobilizing volunteers, and also giving awards to local government units for sustainability and resilience works. These are grassroots efforts for building local capacity and fostering community ownership of our ARISE members. The youth engagement is key to long-term resilience. We have Future Resilience Leaders programs, train students and interns in DRR, fire prevention, earthquake preparedness. We also conduct preparedness forums for youth, senior citizens, persons with disabilities, and we have reached around 13,000 individuals trained for the persons with disability. The Youth for Resilience program trains the youth to be future leaders in DRR through the support of the government, the Office of Civil Defense, making them accredited community disaster volunteers. Organizations like Upskills Foundation and the Catholic Relief Services work in more vulnerable urban areas. Livelihood monitoring for disaster victims through the Community Education and Mentoring Program. We strongly promote disability inclusive DRR and the resilience for all. We have the real-time weather monitoring with our member comunidad for their early warning systems. And these are the efforts of the members to address socio-economic vulnerabilities and enhance urban resilience. Science-based approaches are critical for resilience. The Philippine Arise partners with different institutions and organizations that provides hazard data and early warnings that delivers climate risk tools. I'd like to share that one member, the Build Change, has retrofitted 2,000 post-Haiyan houses and trained around 5,000 people in basic safe constructions. These programs combine research, technology, and community engagement. Community resilience is enabled by good, strong leadership, community ownership, the social bond, to co-create solutions and access to funds and financial support, with the objective to deliver sustainable livelihood, to survive disasters and emerge stronger. So in summary, we can further strengthen resilience with a strong public, private, and people partnership. It is about a whole of society approach. The private sector is here. We can invest in resilience. We share technology and innovation, products and expertise, and even resources. The private sector is always ready to extend support and helps the government empower vulnerable communities. And I believe that the word collaboration is the key. Together, let us continue to build resilient communities for a more sustainable future for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Silerio. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Silerio, for your meaningful presentation. Now that we have listened to all the presentation, we will move to discussion and the Q&A sessions. So anyone who have comments or the questions to our distinguished speakers, please raise your hand. Then we will bring your microphone. And then if you have a question, and please give us a short introduction of yourself, and then ask your question. Okay.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for the great presentations, all of you. I'm Songdo from Incheon Institute, the Disaster Research Center. So my question is for Professor Wansoo Im about the community mapping. I guess despite its usefulness, I believe there are some issues such as verification of data information accuracy, digital literacy problems, and maybe unbalanced distribution of information, or some cultural barriers. So considering this urgent disaster situations, what do you think are the main problems that community mapping faces, and what measures could be taken to address these concerns in community-based disaster risk management?
Thank you. Hello, can you hear me? Okay. So thank you for the questions. It's not easy. It sounds like it's wonderful job, right? But it takes a lot of effort. And so first, the answer about the accuracy about the data. We have a lot of issues, like when people collect the data. So we actually do by community level, a small group. So whenever we do the community level, we make sure that we educate them, we train them, but also each of the small group, we have a so-called gatekeeper, right? So gatekeeper makes sure the data is clean, right? And then they can either approve or they can check it later too. But in case of emergency, like Hurricane Sandy or any kind of emergency, we actually don't have a gatekeeper because people keep adding data. But the more people are involved in, actually, the people can actually put a comment, and then it kind of, correct the data by itself. So there is a two-way for the regular process. You can have you can work with a small group, and then you have a kind of gatekeeper or community group member who can keep checking the data on it. But if it is an emergency, you have to keep monitoring data too. But if you have a lot of data set, right, it's easy to find any abnormality. So that is one. Another thing is how to engage community. Right, that is most difficult. Right? I mean, just because you have a website or a community mapping site doesn't mean that the people will participate. So one of the things that we do is we try to work with the existing group, right? If there is a children's safety, like the mothers associations or something, we try to help, with the knowledge that we have, but they know, what they need more. So we actually try to work with the organization who are more interested and have vested interest in and have knowledge about it. Yeah. So so far it works well. Yeah, but still, it's really difficult. And also another thing is I'm really focusing on the K to 12 nowadays. And a lot of people may think, why K to 12? But one of the things that I found out, if college students go to the community and take a picture, everybody's scared. Wow, maybe they're taking pictures to report, what's happening in the community. But if the children's, the elementary school and the kindergarten students, if they go, right, if they take a pictures, if they do the survey, everybody got excited. Like even grandpa, grandma, they come, they try to really engage. But one of the things that I like is once kids are involved in, their parents got involved in, their grandparents got involved in, right? And then a lot of times we try to really do community engagement with the people who are directly involved in, but you need to really build the community capacity, right? You need to do this kind of project, even it is not the direct subject, right? And then create the foundation. So when you really need community engagement for the disaster or some other things, they can naturally, participate. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Incheon from Tohoku University. My question or comment is on the Professor Im again. Before I joined the UN, and I was studying the tornado disasters in the United States about 10 years. Then I interviewed many, hundreds of people. Soon after big tornadoes, our team went to visit the site to identify the wind speed by interview. Then there was, as you said, it was Tennessee, but Nashville, Tennessee, but there are some rough area in the United States, in the cities, not like in Korea or Japan. There are some area we shouldn't visit, and we may take our life at risk, seriously. Then I have experienced that during my interview, the dog was barking very hard. Then he got a gun and shot the dog in front of us. So these things happen. So this you reminded me this risk. So now the remote sensing, remote way of doing the surveys more available. But my research was about 30 years ago. So I'd like you to say more on this issue.
Okay, that's really good question. You know what? Where I live in Nashville is the most dangerous place. Actually, we have gun sound in the evening. Police doesn't come. because it's dangerous, right? And then I just choose to live there, right? Because I think I need to be, in the community. I totally agree, right? I mean, it's really kind of scary. But the funny thing is, if you walk with kids within the community, right? Actually, they know each other, right? Right. Sometimes they feel like a little weird. This Asian guy is walking on the street. They just open their curtain and see who is this guy, right? But when you walk with a kid in the community, right? They kind of open the door, say, hi, John, hi, Mike. So I think it's really, one word for the community engagement and empowerment is the trust. You need to earn the trust from the community, but it doesn't just, happen like this. You need to eat together, you need to pray together, right? It takes time, but I think the best way to avoid those situations is try to really get engaged and walk with a community member, right? And especially it's really easy to walk with kids because they are part of the school, right? So if you do something at the school system, and then they will tell to their mom and dad and parents, right? I know it's not that easy. For example, one of our professor, he was going to the parking lot, he got shot, he got killed. And then I have an intern from Texas. She came to visit me and she got robbed, right? It's dangerous, right? But we have to start from somewhere. And then the things that I learned is you need to really gain trust, right? And then you need to really invest your time, not just for the research, but eating together, go to church together. I go to even Catholic church or Islamic thing. People really appreciate, genuinely. I even go to the Native Americans in Alaska and some other place too. But you have to be willing, right, to gain the trust. But it happened from the eating and playing together. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for your answer. Yeah.
Thank you very much. My name is Satoshi Ishii. I'm from Asian Development Bank. First of all, thank you very much for the excellent presentation. I think I love what you are doing. Community engagement or community-based approach is something that the ADB or MDB are not very good at, I think. So, we really have to work in collaboration with the different partners, and then you are really reaching to the last mile of the the society. So this is really, really important. I just would like to ask maybe any of the panelists, what's the most pressing priority for your activity? I'm asking because sometimes we talk about the leadership, strong will and champion, sometimes finance, sometimes government. But those things are actually coming rather one shot. Sometimes leader change. Sometimes we MDB comes. We provide a technical assistance. Once the money finish, nothing goes on. So sustainability is also an issue. But society or the citizens are always there, right? For long term. So I really feel that what we have been doing is really sustainable, high impact. And then I would like to hear from you, that what really important or pressing priority for you, so that maybe possibly we as a ADB or MDB or financier or the government could potentially help to sustain your activity, and then also maybe bringing your activity one level up, because we have been talking about this community engagement for quite some time already, and then we know that climate change is coming very fast. We have to act quickly. We cannot spend another 20 years to building the stronger community. So I just would like to understand what is your most pressing priorities, or what do you expect at the moment to support your activities. Thank you.
Okay, anyone who can comment on these questions? Yeah, I think Dr. Ruangmei, it's good for you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. The most pressing requirement at the moment for maybe Build Back Better or building resilience, I would say is one is investing in the social capital. Second, we require now when we say risk transfer can be in different ways. It could be in terms of, say, I think a lot of people have talked about parametric insurance. This parametric insurance could be of different products. So maybe perhaps we can look at different products of risk transfer where money will be involved. And in that way, it's something like putting your eggs in different baskets, which you will be able to pick when you require. So two things. One is investing in the social capital. When I say social capital, in the context of Nagaland, in the event of any disaster in Nagaland, we never run a relief camp. Because if there is a disaster in a community, if I'm affected, my brother or my relative is their responsibility to take care of me. So that is called social capital. So I think we need to find a way, how do we enhance this? I think when the professor was talking about trust, I think is one of the components of social capital. So that's how we need to really look at it. How do we enhance that? I think that is the most sustainable way of building resilience. Of course, the second one is resources, that financial resources. So when we say financial resources, we need to look at future-ready infrastructure and economy. I think young children, young college students were presenting maybe the previous session. I think we need to really look at it, whether our infrastructure today that we have built is future-ready. Whether the economy that we talk about today is future-ready. Because, the nature of disasters is expanding, which we never imagined has happened. Flooding in the cities when flood has never been, So future-ready infrastructure and future-ready economy.
I agree. I agree that, the most pressing is on the risk transfer. For the private sector, we have been looking at the risk transfers because the insurance cannot respond to it because it is very expensive. So we have been asking different insurance companies to offer insurances for MSMEs, and yet they cannot because it's too expensive. Number two is, I think, infrastructure. The early warning systems in different communities should be present and should be highly promoted. Number three is, of course, the preparedness, the track of prepared, adapt, and transform. We have been doing that in communities, partnering with local chief executives and private sectors who can put money where their business are, because it's very important that they are safe, their businesses are safe in the area. But we lack the funds, and I think the support of funds for the local government will be critical to push preparedness and adaptation to cities and provinces.
Okay, thank you. Anyone who can add some comments to the question? Okay, then let's move to the next question. So anyone who have comments or question? Okay. Okay. I think this should be our final question.
Oh, yeah, I'm audible. Hi, my name is Incheon again, who was the last presenter on the Voices of Future session. Thank you so much for all your presentation and insights. It's really helpful. So I have actually two questions. I'm sorry if it's too much, but my first question is to Professor Wansoo again. So I do know that as university students, we can just visit professors who are like working in this field and ask what we can do, like what we can start to do the country mapping in this local community. But still, I want to ask, as an undergrad, like what do you think should be the really like very first step to take? That is my question. And then the second question is to Miss Liza Silerio. So I remember that you have introduced a lot of youth-related activities happening in your country. So I would just like to ask, what do you think makes so special about those youth programs, and how it can be applied to this Korean context for better cooperation in the future? Thank you.
So I have a little hearing difficulty, but let me just say your questions again. So you are interested in how you can be involved in this kind of community mapping? That was a question? Okay. So thank you. So maybe I should like answer to everybody. Actually, one of the reasons that I was so glad to be here is I can share what I do and then find partners, right? I mean, apparently I can only do what I can do well, right? I'm not really good at making partners and do the work. And then I have all the tools that I developed already, right? But again, I need, like the partners who can really make things happen. So, I mean, this is a good connection. I will give my Kakao ID and we can start from there, right? And then even I'm so excited we have like all the leaders from the other countries. So if you want to try this one, we can, communicate. And then I want to make sure that we can have a successful story so it can be used by other community. But one word actually I want to really say, the previous question that, I mentioned trust, right? But another word, actually I wrote a book, the title called The Awakening, right? Like a lot of community people are not really aware what's happening in the world, in their neighborhood, how it affects their life, right? So, what I think in a way, it's our duty to make sure, right? To help them to be awakened how everything is happening might affect them and what kind of thing that they can do, right? Okay, thank you.
The Youth for Resilience is very important in the Philippines because we have noted that the youth were the first ones who were digitally transformed. So they were very active and they have a lot of passion and commitment and they volunteer. They can easily volunteer to anything that we want them to do, especially in emergency responses. But they have to be in the aspects of DRR. So we are educating them on the disaster risk reduction plus emergency preparedness so that we can create more, champions for the next generation. There are a lot, and the Philippines has this sa kabataan, sangguniang kabataan in the political, aspect, wherein the youth are well represented. And they're very active, and we are tapping them aside from students of different universities. So they have become so active, and that because there is also support of the government, wherein they can be given a volunteer accreditation from the programs of DRR. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. As we have seen today's session, the community-based collaboration networks are really important for our DRR and the urban resilience. By sharing experience from Korea, the United States, India, and the Philippines, we gain valuable perspective on how trust, sustainability, and capacity building can be achieved. On behalf of the Incheon Institute and all participants, I would like to sincerely thank you to our distinguished speakers today for their contribution and all of your active engagement. This concludes session 5. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, all the panelists and moderator. 네, 진심으로 감사드립니다. 이 시간 풍성하게 채워주신 우리 저장님과 패널분들에게 여러분 다시 한번 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. Thank you very much. 네, you may return to your seat. 자리로 모시겠습니다. 감사합니다. 네, 이렇게 저희 이틀간에 혹시 그룹 포토 한번 찍고 마무리하실까요? 네, 단체 사진 먼저 찍겠습니다. We'll take a moment to group photo. 네, 마지막 세션을 정말 풍성한 내용으로 또 이끌어주신 우리 좌장님과 패널분들에게 진심으로 감사드리겠습니다. So once again, our special thanks also go to our moderator and panelists for this productive and fruitful discussion. Thank you very much. 네, 감사합니다. 네, 이렇게 저희는 이틀간의 여정을 마무리하게 되었습니다. 협력 강화라는 명확한 주제를 가지고 정말 많은 이야기를 나눴는데요. 오늘 포럼은 이것으로 마무리를 하지만 이것이 끝이 아니라 한층 더 강화된 또 협력으로 나아가는 시작점이라고 생각합니다. Well, our two-day journey has come to an end, but it's not an end. And we believe this marks another beginning of more robust and unified path forward. So thanks to your active participation, we were able to successfully conclude this forum. So thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you again next year. And there will be a field visit organized by Incheon Metropolitan City. So all international participants, when you go outside, please take the escalator outside and go down to the first floor. And there will be Incheon City officials waiting for you to guide you to the bus location. 네, 그래서 모든 그 해외 참석자 여러분들께서는 현장 필드 트립에 참석하시는 분들은 에스컬레이터를 타시고 1층으로 내려가셔서 기다려 주시면 되겠습니다. So thank you and goodbye. 안녕히 들어가십시오.